end of 3 weeks of practice, you get a gauge kind of where you want to be or where you are kind of heading into the final two?
Yeah, it's just, again, in spring ball, you have to take the again, like I said yesterday, you're panning for gold a little bit. There's a bunch of crap, and then one fleck of gold, and you grab it and build on that, and try to fix the other parts. But our guys are working hard. Again, we competed really well today. Defense definitely had the upper hand today. And we'll see on scrimmage if the offense can kind of bounce back.
Mark, with limited practices, are there a lot of teachable moments where you can stop and just teach guys fundamentally or whatever you're looking for?
There's a million teachable moments, and that's kind of, today you could write a PhD on psychology and coaching and teammates and all, a bunch of stuff that happens of whether, again, if it's a guy that's down that's coaching somebody else, or some guy that's getting so many reps that he's a little down or whatever, which is an excellent problem. But that we don't stop. During the off days we have team meetings, and we'll point those things out of good and stuff that we need to improve upon. And then obviously in their position meetings, they're constantly either, again, reinforcing the good, or hey, this isn't our way type of a deal. But by and large, it's really good. But we have a high standard, and we want to amp that standard up even more.
So you want to get as many reps as possible, as opposed to just stopping practicing, using those teachable moments.
Yes, when we're on the field in a team situation, we're usually going pretty fast, unless it's a situation, 4-minute drill, or whatever the situation may be. But we have periods within practice where we have walkthroughs built in to kind of get a built-in break for some of the, especially the receivers, DBs, linebackers, those guys that are constantly running, if it's a special teams drill or a team drill or a 7-on-7 drill. And so we can take a minute to either correct something or introduce something.
How do you want to approach the backup quarterback situation this year? Last year, it didn't seem like there was ever that clear, definitive backup to Marcus, and you had Jake and Jeff. Is that something you want to change this year, or do you want to kind of approach it the same way?
I think ideally that plays itself out. I think ideally there's separation, but sometimes it doesn't happen, and that's, you can't fake that. That's not something you want to try to create or have happen in any artificial way, because the team knows that, how that comes out. But that's not the end of the world either. I think it's been a competitive situation, and we'll see at the end of spring kind of where we are going forward. If it plays out, it plays out. If not, we're going to fall.
Did Marcus's injury last year, and kind of, was that a wake-up call at all in that sense? Of maybe you want to have that one guy?
No, it wasn't. That wouldn't have affected anything as far as decision making or how things went. From that standpoint.
Do you feel there's any bit of separation from those guys at this point now, or is it still kind of the way it's always been?
It's not the way it's always been, but it's not enough. Yeah.
How do they react to that? Not having the definite.
It's tough. Being the backup quarterback to begin with is tough. It's one of those things. You're the solution, right? In everybody's minds is you be the greatest player ever in the history of the world, because you're not in there making mistakes. So obviously the backup quarterback is always the kind of hero that never has to prove himself. But yet at the same time, both those guys want to be that guy. And there was never enough separation to have that happen last year. And I think, which is, again, in some ways a good thing, because they were both kind of banged up or different at times last year. It never happened. It never occurred. But at the same time, we didn't just throw somebody down to the scout team and keep somebody up and force the issue, because again, you can't fake that.
I know he's not here, but how does Morgan Mahalik fit into the backup race?
We'll find out. Yeah, we'll find out. And these guys have a ton of reps on him, but you recruit guys for a reason, and we'll find out.
You confident you can achieve the same level of success with either of those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a confidence issue at all, and that's where I think that was kind of misunderstood. If one of those guys would have been, clear-cut number 2 to Marcus. That wouldn't have had any effect on anything we did.
You were tied in by committee last year. Do you want one guy to kind of step up and separate himself this year?
Not necessarily. We'd like to have 4 of those guys that could, you could count on and play. And playing with multiple tight ends is huge. It's tough to defend. You can be in a ton of different formations with those guys, and especially the guys that we try to recruit. They're versatile. They can block at the line of scrimmage. They can block in space. They can run and catch. And when you can do that, and just from a defensive coordinator perspective, line up in an unlimited number of formations, but yet still be able to line up and pound the ball. Defensive guys don't like that.
Has one guy kind of stood out so far in spring camp?
Evan Bayless has been, better. Kolakai's been better. Of course, I'm blank. Johnny Munt, has been hit and miss. Those guys have gotten a ton of reps, and obviously, hopefully, they're getting better.
Mark, there have been some pretty good reviews of guys who are like a year into position changes, like O'Shea and TJ Daniel. Are there guys who are kind of just starting that process now this spring who you're intrigued by at all? Guys who are just now kind of getting tested out of new places?
Need to prepare with a roster too. I don't know. Let's talk about those 2 guys since you asked about. Rodney Prevost learning how to practice. Farrell Brown just smiles a lot, which is good. TJ Daniel's practicing really well. I think he's starting to, again, just have more confidence in everything he does. O'Shea's starting to play faster. Rodney Prevost's starting to play faster with more confidence. And it's just, there's more guys getting to the point where, okay, all this stuff makes sense, and now I can just cut it loose. And that's obviously the point you want everybody to be at some time. And there's more guys going that direction.
It's just case by case, or do you, as a coaching staff, go to a player and say, I think we'd like you at a different spot, or do they come to you and say, I think I would like you?
It's both. We always tell guys in recruiting, you can start wherever you want to. Guys come in and they're going to have more confidence doing what they think is best, and just they're going to be more comfortable. And then usually it's about at least a year cycle. You go through a fall, you go through a spring, and you go, okay, hey, there's 27 DBs and there's 1 tailback. Do you want to go compete for that job or vice versa, and take a look at that? But that we leave that totally up to them in recruiting. And then once they're here, it's kind of the same thing. Of hey, this kid's maybe put on some weight, or they're whatever changes have happened, or there's injuries or whatever, and trying to find an opportunity to get everybody involved.
Devin Allen's got a pretty important track meet coming up this weekend. He said obviously football's his priority, but how do you guys kind of view when he's got something coming up, and how do you kind of strike that balance with how he performs here in practice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Coach Rad kind of controls all that from, when we're on the football field, it's football time. And then it's Track Time USA from now on. But it's Football Time USA until after practice. And then Rad controls him kind of off the field, whether it's, just some modifications to his lifting or modifications to certain things we do off the field or between practices that we tweak a little bit. But he's another guy that, man, he looked really good the other day and is starting to, again, play with some more confidence and play at his true speed.
Do you feel like he's been striking that balance well between the two?
He's getting better at football, and I don't know exactly how he's feeling on the track, but so that from our standpoint, that that's going the right direction.
We can wrap this up. Coach said something like he's got to be in 15 minutes.
Dave and I have stuff to do.
About the wideouts, do you encourage the wideouts to learn all of the different
It depends.
positions, and with Braylon's loss, is that more beneficial to all these guys learning different positions?
It's definitely more beneficial if a guy's capable. I think there's certain types of guys that when you force feed guys usually go one of 2 directions. They either kind of absorb in bits and you just talk them through, hey, you're making a bunch of mistakes, you're doing a bunch of different things, and some guys are okay with that. Then there's another segment of guys where you're going, okay, hey, learn this first, then let's learn this, and then kind of put it all together. But the more versatile guy is, obviously the more valuable it is.